Okay, welcome to my show. What do you do? Helping people stay out of prison once released, E4. Okay, to get a better understanding of this program, you should watch E1 because that's the pilot and it also has my story on it so you can kind of see my mindset. I have just one letter here. It's kind of long, so I decided to do this one by itself. Okay, now this letter is from Antone Jordan. He's at Salinas Valley Prison in Soledad, California. And he writes, I was born in 1961, November 14th, and I'm from Los Angeles, California, South Central LA, and I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters, and during that time I was born, my mother and father was married, and I believed in my heart I was born to parents who wasn't ready to be parents and parent children. And my mother and father were still young as married couple, and with that came dysfunctions of a young couple who did not know how to parent or be a husband or wife. Now, I do remember spending time with my father at a very young age, and I also remember the domestic abuse between my mother and father. Now, that didn't last too long, and then my father left my mother with 3 children at that time, and life was a struggle, and it left the responsibility all on my mother. And my mother did her best by being a go-go dancer and being involved with different kinds of guys, and with that also came domestic abuse, and it became a routine of my mother being beaten up by her boyfriends. And in order for my mother to cope, she would fall in line with the use of drugs, and then things only got worse for myself and siblings. And then one day my mother went to work and hired a babysitter to watch us while she was at work. But unfortunately, my mother didn't return from work for 4 days, and the babysitter called the police and informed them that their children were under the age of 5 at home alone without parental supervision. And then the police arrived and took all of us kids into custody for foster care because my mother didn't return home from work. Now, while we were in foster care and going back and forth to court concerning our custody, the court wasn't going to give my mother back her children because of neglect. And so my mother's mother, Dorothy, was coming to court in order to bring us into her household in order to obtain the money that she would get from the government, FDC, and so on. The courts made an order that all of the children can go live with her, and living with my grandmother wasn't good at all because living with my grandmother came all kinds of abuse, from physical to sexual abuse by my mother's brother. And during this time, myself and my sibling wasn't seeing our mother because she was running the streets, not really caring about her children as she fell deeper into the use of drugs. And so I actually grew up on 3924 Wisconsin Street in Los Angeles, within the dirty 30s. And the environment was nothing but drug use and gang members. And so myself and my siblings went to 37th Street School, Weems Elementary, and while I was trying to live my life as a young kid, my father died when I was 8 years of age, and it affected me a lot in many ways. where I started getting into trouble while attending elementary school. During our lunch break, I would hide in the closet and wait on everyone to leave, and I would look for the teacher's purse and steal all the money from her purse, and I would ditch school and go to the store and buy a lot of candy and junk food and pass it out to the other kids at school. And I could remain still in class and started getting into fights after school. Every morning, even coming to school. I would sneak into the liquor store and steal boxes of candy, giving it to all the kids at school, and this is how I made friends, even though I was a very shy kid and I only stole or would steal because myself and my siblings was hungry as a child, and we were wearing clothes that were too small for us, and all my shoes had holes in them. I would use cardboard in order to place inside the shoes in order to wear them to school. This went on for years. As I moved on to junior high school, things only got worse for myself and my siblings, because as we got older, my uncle continued to sexually abuse us, and wasn't anyone there to help or save us from this abuse. And I didn't like going home after school. So I would remain out late, come home, and then get a whooping for being out late. And it's a shame that no one within the family claimed to not know what was going on within that household. And like I said, there wasn't anyone there to protect us from harm, and my father had already died. So I started running around with all the kids within the neighborhood, and some of them were gang members, and back in those days we were baby gladiators. And I loved to fight and was very good at it. When all the gangs in the neighborhood would always try to get me to join their gangs, I would, because they were the ones who I always had fights with and was beating up, even though I wasn't a gang member. Other people would always assume that I was from the gang in the neighborhood that I lived in, and I wasn't. Now, I was in high school and playing organized sports, and I was pretty good at playing football and wrestling and running track. And at this time, my uncle, who was abusing us, finally got married and moved out of the house with his wife and kid. And I was starting to feel better about myself. But please don't get me wrong. There was still abuse within the house, as my grandmother would beat us for every little thing, and I hated going home. Now in the 1980s, I started stealing more and more in order to purchase clothes for school, and I started breaking into cars and taking the stereo system and sell them in order to obtain money for school and things I would need. And then I started snatching purses for the money and so on. In 1981, the month of October, I went to the USC Village in order to eat. And after I finished eating and looking for something to steal, as I was walking through the USC school parking lot, peeking into cars, a police popped out of nowhere with his gun drawn and asked me to stop and put my hands up. And I did, as he asked. And I asked him why was he stopping me, and he told me that I resembled a suspect that they were looking for. for the crimes that was going on within the area. And would I do a lineup for them? And I said that I would be in a lineup in order to prove my innocence. I was told that the people picked me and said that I resembled the person who was shooting, murdered, kidnapping, sexual assault people in the area. So since I've been through abuse all my life, it was normal for me. So I was arrested and sent to Los Angeles County Jail, and I remained in the county jail for 3 years fighting charges. And to be honest with you, I was simply in the county jail going through the motions, knowing that I will be out soon. And when I called my grandmother and the rest told me to accept a plea deal. And they just didn't know how serious things really was for me. Since I was a layman of the law and a native. Layman, okay. I was allowing the public defender, to talk me into accepting a plea deal for something that I didn't know nothing about. And so I accepted a deal believing in my public defender when he said that he would give me 5 years and I would get time served and be out of jail. But when I went for sentencing, I was given 44 years in prison, and it didn't scare me because going to prison removed me from the abusive household, and I would have rather been in prison than to continue to be abused. And I know that's a shame. But that's all I knew to do, and I did 25 years in prison and was released in 2005 and remained out of jail for 7 years. Now I'm back in prison for not failure to register as a sex offender or failure to update sex offender registration. And in 2011, I was given 26 years to life in prison for failing to register, and this is our justice system at its best. And when we know that other races doesn't get the same time that black men get, and since I've been in prison, I have been requesting for my DNA to be tested in order to prove my innocence. But I'm not being heard by anyone, and I need and I want this in order to prove my innocence. And plus, I have children in society that needs me just as I love and need them as well. And so, Kirk Brown, if you can help me in any way, please help me prove my innocence. Yeah, well, far as trying to prove somebody's innocence, I wouldn't even know how to begin to do that. So, only thing I can do is just put your story out there, and if somebody watching that could help or has some suggestions, you should get at him. Because there's a lot of things in here I identify with. Okay, now his questions. One is, why does the people in society allow social media and the news to make them believe in lies about black men? Okay, number 2. As a child, I wasn't protected by anyone and not by God either from child abuse. Okay, that's more of a statement than a question. Okay. Number 3, I'm called a rapist and I've never had to rape anyone for anything and it hurts every day. So what can I do to change the thoughts of others about me? Okay. Number 4, how do you cope with being falsely accused? Okay, and this last one is, can someone help me because I'm slowly dying in prison and I want to see my adult children and younger ones? Yeah, he's going through it. Then he got this little thing thanking me in advance. And it says, P.S. Can you hear me screaming for help? Well, I mean, I'm trying to do my part, put it out there, but you know, it is hard. It is hard for, I hate to use the word criminals, but I have to say it. It is hard for criminals who have a lot of pride to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? Even on the street, they might need some gas for their car. They'd be too embarrassed to ask because they'd rather go take it. You know, it's a pride thing. But so if you can help him, it's Anton Jordan. His number is AP2284. He's at CSP/SVSP, which is Salinas Valley State Prison. Look like he's in B5/124 Low. P.O. Box 1050, Soledad, California, 93960. So when you address the letter, just do it like this. Okay, before I go, like I said, I can identify with a couple of these things. Like one is stealing stuff from stores to make friends, which is on my E1, my pilot video, if you want to hear that. And the other one is, it sounds strange, I would rather be in jail than at home. I know that sounds strange. I'm not talking about as an adult, because a lot of this is really between the ages of 1 and 18. The reason I say I would rather be in juvenile hall, in other words, than to be at home. And the reason why is this. Like I say, if you've seen my story, you know about the racism and the type of stuff that I was going through. Well, one day, I was breaking in a Little League snack bar, you know, stealing all the little kisses and paydays and all that stuff to be at the lift. So when I'm toting all the stuff home, just so happens, police come by, hey, what you know, see me with the bags, look in the bags, see all that, where you get this, that, and you know, he put 2 and 2 together. Well, anyway, he found out that I had broke into the snack bar. And he said, son, what's your name? Now I'm thinking about that ass whooping now at first. You know, I'm like, oh no. Pop telling out some vicious ass whooping. I'm not, ain't no way I'm gonna tell you my name. But anyway, they took me down to juvenile hall, And they put me in there so they can find out who I am. So while I'm in there, I experienced something I never experienced before. Even though there was blacks, whites, and Mexicans in there, it was no color. I mean, it wasn't no set tripping. We was playing together. We was in the same dorm. The counselor, everybody was treated equal. You know, in juvenile hall, you do things, you go swimming and all that. So actually, I was having fun. It was much, much better than being at home. I'm not saying that inside my home life, my sister, my mother, we all got along. We had no conflicts at all. All this stuff I brought upon myself. And you know, with the other racism going on. But anyway, the racism part that I was going through as a child, it didn't exist in there. So I was actually happy. So when they did let me out, the first thing I would do, I'd go out and I'd just get to just stealing everything again. So I was purposely doing a lot of stuff too at a young age to go back to juvenile hall to escape what was going on in the world. And then once you're in there, you get your Melrose belief system get formed. You pick up bad values, and so yeah, I can kind of see why he said that he would rather be in jail than to be at home. So, you know, it's very important to work on yourself. Pay attention to your kids if they're constantly getting in trouble and just going to jail. Like, you'll say something like, "What you do that stupid ass stuff for?" Well, maybe he did it on purpose because that's where he wanted to go, because there's some issues that he's not telling you about. Okay, that's all I have for today, and I got a few more letters over there, but you know, I'm gonna save them for next week. I just want to read this one by itself because I thought it was, you know, especially, you know, being accused and not getting the benefit of the doubt, because technically, you know what I'm saying, black men are not rapists. So that, you know, every time I got locked up and went to prison, there was, out of 100 black men, there might be 3 or 4 that's in there for rape. So it's, you know, I can sort of give him the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Even though a lot of times I wasn't getting it, just like the other day. You know, like I told you, I was on employment for 3 months. So I was getting, you know, after doing the 31 years, so I was running around seeing everybody, and, you know, they got kind of used to seeing me. So I ended up getting a job, and, you know, I've been working the job. When I get through, I be tired, so I come home so people wouldn't see me. So one day out the blue, I called one of my friends, and he was like, "Kirk, is that you?" I said, yeah. He said, "Well, damn, I thought you was back in jail." I mean, but I can't blame him, because he's a lifelong friend, and that's how he remembers me. You see me all the time, and when you don't see me, I'm in jail. Okay, so thank you for participating in my program, and I hope you can help this guy, give him some advice or whatever you can do. Okay. Zeus, get that out your, come here. Yeah, you gotta keep your eye on this little fella. Yeah, he'll chew you out of, he'll chew you out of house and home, huh? Ain't that right?